people ask me, do I know how to cook? I said yes, because I know how to read. Isn't that the same thing? So my understanding of cooking is knowing how to read a recipe. And so I felt like if I can read a recipe, then of course I can cook anything because I know how to read a recipe. So there's people who cook with not measuring anything. They just throw in this and eye that, and it comes out spectacular. And they cook by tasting it every, I guess, 10 minutes or so and see, oh, does it need more salt or pepper or any other spice? And then other people, like Europeans, for example, they measure everything because it must come out precisely perfect every time. There's a science behind it. So they never just do it on a whim. They measure with a scale to make sure it will come out the same each and every time. So these are two extremes, and I've done both. And I thought, if no one's complained about my cooking yet, then I must know how to cook, right? I think when people say, do you know how to cook, they mean, does your food turn out looking decent, but also does it taste good? And so I think a feminine woman should know how to cook, should know how to prepare dishes that look very aesthetically pleasing as well as taste good to the palate. Now, in order to do your best cooking, I think one should have an assortment of spices. And I built my spice collection over the years, adding spices here and there as I learn. I haven't gone to any spice store or the regular grocery store and bought every spice that one particular brand offers, because I don't use all those spices, but I do use quite a few. And every time I come across a new recipe that has a spice I've never tried before, I'll go ahead and buy it. So I'm going to share with you some of the dishes that I've created, and yes, I've had positive and good and yummy delicious reviews on my dishes, so I believe based on that and based on how it looks, I know how to cook. video is not being sponsored at all, but I just want to take note of these beautiful earrings that I'm wearing. And I have purchased them from Teresa, who has a shop called My Teddy Bear 1955 on eBay. Again, she's not sponsoring this, but I told her I would share it because she has such a beautiful, not only work ethic, but all of her products are beautiful. These I'm wearing are actually my second pair. The first pair I had that you can see in these pictures, I lost it on that day and they were quite bigger and I was just so distraught. I was like, Teresa, help me. Please make these over for me again. It came out so beautiful that I ended up buying 2 more. And I love not only her merchandise, but her personal touches and her care and concern over her product. How we developed a relationship is because I purchased one of her products and the backing was black, and the way my ears are pierced, unfortunately the person did it when I was an infant, so I have no recollection, nor could I direct it. The person pierced my ears in such a way that my ears usually show the earrings a little bit turned to the side. They're not both fully facing front, if you can notice. I mentioned that in my review and she felt so bad. I mean, she didn't have to do this, but she felt so bad and she wanted me to enjoy her product so much. She made me a completely new set with front and back with the same design, and it was just so gorgeous. I told her I have to mention that on my channel. They're so beautiful. So you can see and I just love them. So I just wanted to mention them. I told her I would wear her earrings in my next video and mention her because I was so pleased with the product. Okay, back to cooking. So your food should not only be delicious and pleasant to look at, but they should be nutritious. Now, there's a lot of talk out there that we are not getting the full nutrients that come from our foods because it goes way back to the soul being depleted of its nutrients. So this is not going to be a video about the intricacies of how our soul has been depleted over the years. Pun intended? Wow. You can do that research on your own. And there's people out there who says if you take my capsule or supplement, I'll restore the nutrients, and if you do this one thing, it will allow you to digest more of the nutrients that you're taking in. And so all of that is very complex. And so what I believe is if you purchase, because the Lord made the body so perfectly and intricately. David even mentioned this. He said, I'm so wonderfully made. You know, how can we discover? Where scientists are still discovering the wonders of the body and our organs and how they heal themselves and how they produce certain things and fight off negative bacteria and how the brain works. I mean, it's all fascinating. So I believe God has already built inside of us a way to extract all the nutrients. But how can we extract nutrients if they're not there? I think if you buy the purest food that you can, then you will be getting the nutrients that you need. I would say good cooking begins with buying great ingredients. Buying ingredients that are wholesome and pure and come from good soil. Doing your research and buying organic and natural. And foods that come from soil that has been not treated chemically, but treated with natural means. And so it begins there. And once you have a great foundation with those ingredients, then you could begin to make great foods. Now, how I discover how to make new dishes and all, I have several cookbooks. So as you can see, these are all of my cookbooks. I even gave some away. But I've purchased a number of cookbooks, from vegan soul food to foodie, to Betty Crocker, which is the most popular one and has been the most popular since what, the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and maybe 90s too. But at one point, there seemed to be an explosion of cookbooks. Everybody and their mama was writing a cookbook. People on celebrities on TV, popular chefs, everyone had a cookbook. So now the market is inundated with cookbooks. So there's no excuse. There's a cookbook out there for you. There's a cookbook on every type of food, and then there's a cookbook done by every type of ethnicity, and there's a cookbook on every type of diet out there as well. Like one of the most popular cookbooks that I have that was passed down to me from my aunt was Out of the Sugar Rut, and that has only recipes that don't contain sugar in it, and it's wonderful. That's the first way to finding out how to cook great dishes. Another way is going to restaurants. If you're a foodie like me, you like to eat out often, you like to try new things. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have my tried and true, and I would order that over and over, but more often than not, I would like to explore new things on the menu. And that is why, if you are going to take me out to eat, I would always ask you, what is the restaurant first, so I can look it up, because I'm one of those people who need to look at the menu before I even get there, because if I get there and look at it, it will take me forever to order, because there's so many good things I want to try, and I need a moment to decide. And that reminds me of a time when I was young. My sister was in high school, and she and her friends wanted to get a slice of pizza at this pizza place near their school. And so I went with them. The server asked me what I wanted, and I was so staring at the menu. And I just kept staring, and I said, I started asking them questions, and my sister was like, oh my gosh, here we go. And so, good thing they ordered first so that they put their food in, because it took me forever. And from that moment on, or I've always been pretty much like that. It takes me a long time to decide, and I ask a lot of questions and sometimes do substitutions. Yes, I'm one of those people. Hate me or love me, but I gotta know these things. And so I would just ask, hey, what restaurant are we going to? So I will not put you and the server through that. So the night before, I'll look it over, and I will probably narrow it down between 2 to 3 things, and then make my final decision once we get there. But at least I'll know, hey, I'm probably gonna get this or that. When I go to restaurants and I try these great dishes, I think, wow, this is so delicious. How can I duplicate this at home? So I try to remember all of the ingredients that were in there and how they prepared it, how they cooked it. Was it baked? Was it fried? Was it boiled? Was it steamed? And then I duplicate that at home, and then voila, I have a new dish that's incorporated into my food vocabulary. And so at one point, I had my own home menu. I don't think I have it now, but I would take a picture of my food, print it out, and put it in little, those, what is it called? Those clear, I don't even know what they're called, but they're little slots where you could put like trader cards inside of them. Well, I bought a stack of those and put all my little food dishes that I made, and I created like a home food menu for myself and my loved ones. That's another way that I learned how to cook great dishes. The final way that I prepare wonderful dishes that you will see in the pictures I share is that I go onto Pinterest. Pinterest is my go-to for learning how to cook like that. Now, Pinterest is wonderful. They will have some meals where they show the picture and then you have to click a link that goes to this long blog, and then you finally get to the recipe. The blog is about, yes, this is how I fell in love with this type of food. And by the way, did I mention I live over here, and over here has the best apples, which I plucked for this type of dish. Okay, that's all beautiful and dreamy, but sometimes I just want to get to the recipe, and thank God for some of those links that say just jump to the recipe. I click them with a quickness, and then I start cooking. But my favorite ones are those you go on Pinterest and they have the video. The video makes it so simplistic, and I think, why can't all cookbooks be like this? You know, it just shows me what to do so simply. And it's not one of those, cooking shows, which I have enjoyed. I used to watch the Food Network all the time, but it's not one of those cooking shows where it takes 30 minutes to tell you about the dish you're about to prepare. This takes about less than 5 minutes, and it shows you all the things to do. One clip for the baking time, which takes like maybe 30 minutes or so. So I love those. Watching Pinterest videos for recipes has been like a lifesaver in introducing a variety of foods in my home. So I still hope in the future to recreate that food menu, but for now I am still collecting the images to put in it. So I hope this has helped you inspire you to cook some awesome dishes, even if you're by yourself, even if you're not cooking for a family of like 5. Because how I learned how to cook was first to prepare food for myself. But I have to say, I honed in on my cooking skills more so after I got married than before. But I do have a great number of dishes that I've done before I even got married. So I would say prepare now. If you're seeking to be married and you would like to cook for your husband and for your family, your future family, whether you have one now or you're planning to have one, start preparing now.